Is the woman closing the lion's mouth, opening it, or giving the lion a handful of tuna pounce? You decide. What's important is that even the king of the jungle is just a big pussycat if you approach him without fear. Warning, this applies to metaphorical lions only. The author of this book is not responsible for attempts to give real live lions handfuls of tuna pounce. Mischance infinite roads to knowing. Detective Logan kept talking. Next of kin, the deceased, cremation, state law, a decision, today, sorry, I heard it, and I didn't. Mom had cancer, which meant the killer actually did us both a favor. No long drawn out agonizing death for her, and bonus, no stack of unpaid hospital bills for me. So why was I upset? Thanks, I said, and hung up, though Logan wasn't done talking. My phone rang again almost immediately. I didn't answer. It's not like I wanted my mother to contact me. She handled it just right, actually. I'll call you later when I'm dead. Then I could be there for her, not before. So I told myself it was just my pride that was wounded. The hidden pills in the bathroom, the change in dress size, the sudden desire to make out a will. I should have seen it coming. And now my theory was all messed up too. I'd picture the killer lunging across the reading table to grab my mother by the throat. A crime of passion, of how dare you bitch variety. But no, she was strangled from behind. And the killer didn't even use its hands. It seemed colder, calmer, less spontaneous, more businesslike. That's what was bothering me. Yeah, sure. I noticed a sign across the street. Star Bail Bonds. Anthony Grandick's office. Perfect. When life gives you lemons, Biddle used to say, steal some sugar and make lemonade. Screw this feelings crap. I have work to do. The star on the sign had a tip pointed straight down, pentagram style. You'd think that'd be a tip-off. Deals with the devil, our specialty. Then again, most of Anthony Grandy's potential customers wouldn't be walk-ins, and they wouldn't be choosy. It had been a long, long time since I'd been in a bondsman's office. Ah, good times. I felt all warm and fuzzy, then all clammy and nauseous. The memories were hitting me like a plate of bad oysters. I went inside anyway. A round-faced, red-haired young woman sat slumped over the front desk, texting. She glanced up at me with heavy-lidded eyes, found me nothing worth waking up for, then turned her attention back to her phone. It looked like she was sending an urgent message to her narcolepsy support group. Is Mr. Grandy in? I asked. No. Do you know when he might be back? Uh-uh. I need to speak to him about Athena Pasalis. Who? She wasn't bluffing. Contemptuous disinterest, that profound, is almost impossible to fake. Someone Mr. Grandy's done some work with, I said. Would it be okay to leave him a note? Sure, whatever. A moment went by. Do you have a piece of paper I could write the note on? The woman jerked her head at a tray 6 inches from her right elbow. It was filled with forms and ballpoint pens. Use one of those. Her eyes stayed on the phone. She was the perfect receptionist for a sleazy operation like this. When she told the cops I'd never noticed anything suspicious, she'd really mean it. I picked up one of the forms. Bail bond application and contract was printed across the top. The back was blank. I sat in a cheap plastic chair covered with cigarette burns and graffiti and wrote my message using a copy of Rolling Stone for backing. I didn't notice the date on the magazine, but the fact that Hootie and the Blowfish were on the cover said a lot. This is what I wrote. Dear Mr. Clean, I got to use it after all. You can save yourself the quarters and call from here next time. Or better yet, just come on over to my place and say hi in person. I've told Detective Logan you might be stopping by. My friends Smith and Wesson are anxious to meet you too. Vice versa, insinuatingly yours, the object of your dissatisfaction. I folded the form over once and slid it onto the desk beside the texting receptionist. You'll see that Mr. Grandy gets that. I said I would, didn't I? No, she hadn't actually, but I didn't bother saying so. I didn't extend a middle finger just to see how long it would take her to notice that either. My guess, between 4 or 5 minutes. I wanted the note in Anthony Grandy's hands, not in the garbage can. I may not pack heat, but sometimes it's good to let people know you can burn them. Fiona Apple started singing again. I ignored her. There was another batch of lemonade to make. I headed back to Mom's place and changed out of my gypsy getup. This was a job for a businesswoman. It was awfully nice of Principal Little to see me on such a short notice. But when someone from the Lions Club drops by on such short notice to talk about prize money, accommodations are made even in the middle of a busy school day. Have a seat, Miss McCoy, was it? Please, I said, call me Julie. Principal Little settled herself behind her desk. She was a little round dumpling of a woman who could pluck up with your chopsticks and eat in one bite. All right, Julie, how can I help you? Well, I said, I'm from the Sedona chapter of the Lions Club, and I just happened to be in Bardacci today on business, so I thought I'd drop by and share the good news and see what kind of bang for the buck we can all get out of it. I assume you're familiar with our annual Up with Academics essay contest. Of course, Principal Little lied. God bless her. Then you'll be thrilled to know that both the grand prize winner and the runner-up come from your school. Bardacci High has $350 coming its way. Oh, Principal Little said, that's great. It was now obvious to her why she'd never heard of the Upward Academics essay contest. And Matt and Clarice both have 3-minute shopping sprees coming to them at the Fashion Den in Sedona, I said. Though I suppose we should probably think about giving them a little extra time on account of their... Darn it, I can't remember what I'm supposed to say instead of handicaps. Special attributes? Excuse me? Wait, I'll get it. Limitations, challenges, whatever. They'll need more time due to their uniquely demanding life situations. But I think that's what makes such a great story. To be brutally honest with you, I'm hoping we can get a little ink for the Lions Club out of it. And for your school too, of course. I think people are going to be truly touched to hear when they hear what Matt and Clarice have been able to achieve. I'm sorry, Julie. Hold on. Which students are we talking about here? I went with the boyfriend first. The one Logan told me Clarice was out with the night my mother died. The one the girl supposedly got out of bed with a call the second she was through with 911. The grand prize winner was Matt Gorman, I said. Then I watched Principal Little. This was the whole reason for being here, risking a pop-in instead of pulling something over the phone. What kind of kid was Matt Gorman? It would show up on Principal's face, assuming she knew him. And in a town this small, she would. Principal Little blinked. She frowned, but not in a scornful way. She looked puzzled, but not shocked. Interpretation? Matt Gorman was an okay kid, at least as far as his principal knew. His essay was called Straight A's and No I's, I said. I don't understand. It's a pun because of his differently abledness. Julie, I have to tell you, I'm very confused. Matt Gorman is a good student, but he doesn't get straight A's, and he's certainly not differentially disabled. You mean he's not blind? Blind? No, he does track and field, and he's on the wrestling team. I know that. It was in his essay. And you thought he was blind? Are you saying blind people can't wrestle? No, no, no. But Matt Gorman isn't blind. You sure? Of course I'm sure. Oh my. I'm almost afraid to ask if Clarice Stewart really is a quadriplegic. She's not? Is she even a cheerleader? What? The title of her essay was Give Me a Q, Give Me a U, Give Me an A, Give Me... Okay, I get it. first quadriplegic cheerleader in Arizona. I get it. We all wondered why we'd never seen her on the news. Principal Little buried her face in her hands. I'm so sorry, she said into her palms. We got punked, is it? Somehow Principal Little found the strength to face me again. Yes, she said, I'm afraid so. Have Matt and Clarice done anything like this before? Nothing like this, but there have been incidents. They're sort of partners in crime. Ah, Clarice has come this close to expulsion more than once, but we've tried to be understanding. Principal Little gave me a significant look. Difficult home life. Oh, that's a shame. It is. I'd be surprised if Clarice was behind this, though. She and Matt won't ever be valedictorian, but they're smart. Too smart to put their own names on fake essays for a contest. Well, do they have enemies? People who would want to get them into trouble like this? Not that I know of, but I'll be looking into it, I assure you. I appreciate that. Though, well, I'm sorry, but you know that this means your school won't be getting the $350. Principal Little offered me a tight smile. Yes, I realize that. Now why don't I show you out? I insisted that Principal Little stay put. No need to waste any more of her valuable time. And no need for Clarice to spot us together and put me in an awkward spot, which is exactly what would have happened. She was sitting under a tree in front of the school when I saw her. A goth-like girl sat beside her, short, electric blue hair and heavy eyeliner with no piercings or tats. They were huddled up talking so intensely they probably wouldn't have noticed if I tap danced past them, waving sparklers. All the same, I veered away, putting my back to them before they might notice me. I didn't see any sign of Clarice's partner in crime, but I'd be meeting him soon. I was going to make sure of that. I got another call from Logan PBT as I drove away. This time I picked up. Talk fast, I'm driving. Then you shouldn't be on the phone. Arrest me. Maybe I will. I heard the beep squawk of a police radio. Hey, I said, you're driving. Guilty as charged, but I'm going to let myself off with a warning. Hypocrite, it comes with the badge. I know. This is actually good timing. What is? Both of us being in our cars. You want a drag race? I want to show you something. It's not the Grand Canyon, is it? I've seen it. It has to do with your mother. Where do I go? I swung by my mom's place before meeting Logan. I wanted to slip back into Stevie Nicks' costume he'd seen me in that morning. Consistency should be your number one priority, always, Biddle used to say. People notice something's changed. They start asking questions, and if they're asking questions, that means they're thinking, and if they're thinking, then we're screwed. Then about 5 minutes will go by, and Biddle will say something like, why would you wear your boots like that? You don't want to be noticed. Blending in should be your number one priority, always. But you said consistency was, I start to say, and he'd just smile. It wasn't the Grand Canyon, but it was a canyon, and it was grand. Logan walked me up to a spot called Devil's Ridge where we could look over it. From up there the world was just three colors: red, rock, green, brush, blue, sky. If it hadn't been for the plants, I'd have thought I was on Mars. The town was behind us, the road too. Nothing moved. We were alone. Logan was standing close beside me. A gust of warm desert wind ruffled his dark curls. His hair was a little thick and longish for a cop, so it actually looked okay ruffled. In fact, I was tempted to reach up and ruffle it more myself. Or maybe I just wanted to give the guy a noogie. He seemed very noogie-able somehow. I refocused on the view. It was a good thing I'm not afraid of heights, because the ridge jutted out like a granite diving board to nowhere. Do a swan dive from there, and you'd end up spread over the rocks below like jellied spam. An eagle screamed as it swooped past us into the valley. Beautiful, I said. Indeed. Majestic. Absolutely. Awe-inspiring. Totally. Perplexing. Huh? Perplexing? As in, what does a beautiful, majestic, awe-inspiring view have to do with my mother? There is a connection. Do you know where we are? Devil's Ridge. Yes, but what is Devil's Ridge? A ridge. What the devil has to do with it? I don't know. Don't you feel anything here? Sense something special? Now that you mentioned it, yes, I do feel something. It feels like mild irritation, or maybe it's just heartburn. It's too bad you don't pick up anything more, Alanis, because Devil's Ridge is your claim to fame. Logan held his arms out wide. This is Berdacci's vortex. You've only got one? Yes. Sedona's got like 4. Logan let his arms drop back to his sides. That's why Sedona gets 4 times as many tourists. So this is where all the mystical energy is supposed to be swirling around? That's right. I licked a finger and stuck it in the air. Nope, I said after a moment, nothing. It's the same for me, but then again, I'm not trying to pass myself off as psychic. Neither am I. So you're not going to reopen my mother's shop? Oh, I am. But tarot readers aren't necessarily psychic. They're merely adept at using a specific set of symbols, shuffled by the random hand of chance, to assess an individual's past, present, and prospects. Infinite Roads to Knowing, page 3. That's a good explanation, Logan said. I just thought that they were bullshit artists. I shrugged. 6 to 1. Look, Alanis, I'm going to be blunt. You weren't already? I like you, but Berdacci doesn't need another phony, and, well, just look at what happened to the last one. Yeah, that autopsy report has you spooked. It threw me anyway. If the ME's right about how your mother was killed, from behind was something like a sleeper hold, that changes how this feels. It starts to look like it wasn't a simple B&E gone wrong after all. I've never been a fan of the prefab snarkism, gee, you think, so I managed not to say it. I think you might be onto something, I said instead. You know who likes sleeper holds? Bounty hunters. And from the hints you dropped about Anthony Grandy, I get the feeling he doesn't always farm out his skip tracing to freelancers. What do you know about Anthony Grandy? Not enough. You want to tell me more? No. Fine. You know what else a sleeper hold could mean? A pro from out of town. No murder weapon, no fingerprints. It seems pretty tidy for an amateur. Even amateurs get lucky. True, but how many of them know how to kill someone with the inside of their arm? That could have been unintentional, a struggle that got out of hand. Maybe it's hard to imagine someone unintentionally putting my mother in a headlock, though. By the way, did you know that Matt Gorman is on the Berdacci High wrestling team? Alanis, would you please stop? What was that? Did you know that Matt Gorman is a wrestler? No. No, I didn't actually. Who knows what kinds of holes he's picked up, right? Yeah, I get it, and I appreciate the information, really. But you don't have to lead me around by the nose. This isn't Mayberry, and I'm not Barney Fife. Wow, how old are you? Logan gaped at me a moment before answering. 36? I didn't think 36-year-olds knew who Bernie Fife was anymore. My granddad liked the show. How old are you? 36. So how is it that you know who Barney Fife is? I spent a lot of time in Mayberry as a kid. I spread my arms wide, just as Logan had a couple minutes before. So here we are, in a wellspring of spiritual energy, the grandeur of creation stretched out before us, a murder to solve, and we're talking about the Andy Griffith Show? I have a murder to solve. You have a mother to bury. I'd rather solve a murder. Logan put on "I'm not joking here around here" face. It was almost "even if you have no idea how much you're pissing me off" face. It wasn't very pretty. "Hey, I'm just messing with you," I said. Like I'd ever interfere with a police investigation. I like to stay as far away from those as possible. Now Logan was wearing "you're full of crap, and I know" face, and I know it face. It was only slightly more becoming. "Don't you ever care that you might be putting yourself into danger just by staying here?" "Nah." Logan stepped closer to me, and we were already close to begin with. If he wanted to get any closer, he'd have about 2 inches to work with. I was surprised he wasn't standing on my toes. "Alanis," he said. I had to tilt my head back to look into his eyes. They were filled with exasperation, but also tenderness and something like wistfulness. Jam-packed, those eyes. They could really multitask. It occurred to me that I might be about to receive the most poorly timed, surprising, and inappropriate kiss of my life, which is saying a lot, considering my life and the kisses in it. There haven't been many, and they almost never felt right. I braced myself. Actually, brace myself isn't quite right. Being kissed by a big, good-looking guy like Detective Josh Logan wasn't the worst thing that could have happened to me. I could take it. I'm tough. I prepared myself. "Hey, Kevin," someone called out. "Don't forget the peace pipe." I turned to find a gaggle of middle-aged white guys in t-shirts and shorts trudging up the trail from the parking lot. Most of them were carrying tribal drums adorned with feathers and beads. I felt a sudden urge to throw myself off the cliff. "If you don't mind," I said, "I'd like to go before anyone gets in touch with his inner wild man." "Me too," Logan sighed. A moment before we'd been close enough to Mambo, but now he was scooting back from me, and I still have more to say, though. "Well, you better get to it. In a few seconds we're going to be in the middle of a Boy Scout jamboree." There were about 30 yards trail left between the Wasp Braves and our spot on the edge of the ridge. "It's obvious I can't tell you what to do, Alanis," Logan said, "but I can ask a favor. Steer clear of Anthony Grandy." "What if he doesn't steer clear of me?" "I'll take care of that. You just take care of yourself. Don't take any stupid risks." "I promise not to go skydiving or bungee jumping. Beyond that, I do what I do." Logan shook his head and let out a long breath. "I don't know if you're the bravest woman I've ever known, or something else I won't say." "I'm probably the something else." "What's that?" Logan pulled out a small sheet of folded paper from his jacket pocket. He handed it to me. "You wanted to know who had made complaints to the police about your mother. Well, there you go." I unfolded the paper and looked over the list. It was shockingly short. Just 3 people in the 3 years she was here? Wow. Mom must have been even slicker than I remember. "Yeah, well, good luck making amends for whatever she did. Just keep me out of it, would you? You didn't get those names from me." I refolded the paper and stuffed it in my pocket. "What names, officer?" Logan smiled wryly. "You are a bad influence, you know that? You're not even in town 24 hours, and already I feel like I'm the bad lieutenant." "Welcome to the dark side, detective. You might like it. It's cool over here in the shade." "Hey, folks," one of the 10 not-so-little non-Indians said. "We're about to start a Sundance. Feel free to join in." "Sorry," I told him. "Things to do, people to see. Debts to pay, killers to find. Dangers to ignore. Yeah, my plate was full, and none of it was very appetizing." So why was I feeling so good as Logan and I hiked back down the trail?